Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Derek. Nobody cares. I'm your host, Derek Johnson, and nobody asked for this. Now, I consider myself an average anime enjoyer. I can't speak anime yet. Something that I've always loved about anime is the fact that it's fake. It doesn't matter if what they make is unrealistic, the whole idea is that it isn't. Anime is very good at creating engaging and immersive shows that are just really fun to watch. I'll just skip right ahead and just get into the topic by saying the title of the video. Netflix's original animes need some help. Now, over the years, as anime has become more and more popularized, Netflix has decided to hop on that train by providing us a little bit of anime with their all-you-can-binge buffet. Now, it's a nice thought, don't get me wrong, but I would say that anybody who's a real anime fan probably isn't getting their anime fix from Netflix. I mean, let's be honest, we're probably all just going to be pirating.
You better keep your mouth shut.
Now, before I get into the rest of the video, I would love to give a shout out to my sponsor. I don't have one yet. Now, when I had this idea for the video, I just kind of assumed I would watch all of Netflix's original animes and then make a video explaining why they're not as good as they could be, until I saw the list of what Netflix says the original anime is. Now, Netflix has this problem, right, of claiming a bunch of shows to be an original anime when that's just not true, so I decided to shorten the list a little bit to all the shows that were originally premiered on Netflix. And that one was still too long, and I realized that why do I need to watch all of these shows and say that they're bad when maybe they could be good? So I decided I was just gonna shorten the list down to the shows that I want to talk about. Blood of Zeus and Dota Dragon's Blood.
Yeah!
They're meh. Both of these shows had a lot of potential, but when it came down to it, Netflix really just missed the mark completely. A disclaimer, I will be spoiling these shows, so if it really matters to you that much, you should go and watch them first, and then I'll explain to you why they're bad. I tend to actually enjoy a lot of shows and a lot of movies and stuff, so it's interesting that I would consider these bad. Okay, maybe not bad. I think bad's the wrong term. I think could have been a lot better. I think that's what I'm kind of thinking. Anime has this reputation of creating seasons upon seasons of a show, amassing hundreds of episodes, all lasting about 25 minutes. That just takes up a lot of time. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying that for those people who are just getting into anime, it's kind of intimidating to go to a show and see that there are 500 episodes. Now, Netflix's original shows in general have been pretty good about making short, binge-worthy shows that maybe you can watch in a couple of days, even if you're not really binge watching it, watching episodes back to back to back to back. However, I don't know if this is such a good thing with anime, at least Netflix's anime. I know a lot of other animes that are pretty short. Blood of Zeus came out back in October of 2020. It was top 10 most streamed shows for a week or two, so initially it did pretty good. I watched this with my roommates when we were all locked into our apartment, all having this disease that you guys probably haven't heard about. It was a short and binge-worthy show that was able to pass the time, but I gotta say, as an anime, I was thoroughly disappointed, and I'll get more into that later. This show is set in ancient Greek mythology, following our protagonist, a dude named Heron, and he's the son of Zeus, and he has to go fight this demon guy who is trying to take over Olympus. No, the Olympus. No, hold up. It's just kind of this crazy show. Now, Dota Dragon Blood came out about a couple of weeks ago, and it was pretty disappointing. It wasn't as bad, but that's just because the conflict wasn't resolved. In this story, Dota Dragon Blood, we are introduced to this main character named Davian. He's a dragon knight. The first thing he does is kill a dragon, which was kind of cool, and he did things, met people, gets caught up in a war. Now, if I sound confused, that's because I am. I want you to know that I did watch these shows entirely, actually, from start to beginning, and I was invested. It wasn't just a show that I put on in the background, it was something that I actually chose to watch. Both Blood of Zeus and Dota Dragon's Blood are different shows, but they share a lot of similar characteristics as to why I struggled to enjoy them. What really gets me about these two shows is that they both had the potential to be great. They had characters, immersive worlds, conflicts, struggles. They had almost everything that was needed to make a really good show, but both of them fell way short. Like I mentioned, the worlds they were able to create were on track to be engaging and immersive, but we weren't really able to fully grasp the whole world because they had to shove everything into 8 episodes. It felt like the show's writers and creators all gathered around a table to write out a bunch of world building, creating and making this huge immersive world on like hundreds of pieces of paper, but then Netflix came in and basically forced them to fit it into 1 page. Every single episode felt like a lore dump, filled with random people and places and conflicts and reasons why things are the way that they are, causing mild headaches trying to even explain it to anybody who hasn't seen it, because even if you have seen it, more likely than not, you're just as confused and lost as they are. This is why I don't think the 8 episode thing is good. And I mean, in general, Netflix does this dumb thing, right? Where they have a show, but they only produce 1 season of it, and so if it doesn't do good, then they just cancel all further production. And so the creators of the shows are basically forced to put as much of their brainchild into the 1 season because they aren't guaranteed a second. So much going on that even in Dota Dragon's Blood, through the whole season, I was confused who I was supposed to be cheering for. It was just so confusing. There's so many random characters, subplots, conflicts that are all converging into this 8 episode that it really just hurts your brain to try and grasp it all. Which brings me to my next point. The character arcs. The people were basically the same character at the end as they were at the beginning. There wasn't really any development. I mean, it doesn't help that like my favorite show is like revered for its character arcs, but still, they were just garbage. There's so much forced relationship building, especially romantically, between the main guy and the main girl, where through the whole thing the girl's like, I don't need no man, but then at the very end she's like, oh, you kind of cute, oh yeah girl, and then they like, characters that were 2 episodes ago were trying to murder one another are now buddy-buddy. There's this whole confusion of whether the people wanted to stab each other in the back or give each other a hug. They tried to develop the characters by giving them a purpose and a backstory, but then because the show was ending, they basically just had to wrap it up and say, oh, the problem is fixed now. There was no real solid ending to anybody's story. They would take 6 out of the 8 episodes to create the world, develop the problem, show the entirety of the cast. They get to the final battle on the 7th episode, and then on the 8th episode, all the conflicts are resolved. Everybody's now buddy-buddy, and they're basically just wrapping up all the subplots. Now, with all of these things happening, even when the main villain in Blood of Zeus turned out to be the main character's dead brother, it was very, very underwhelming. It was supposed to be this huge reveal, but in reality, I didn't care. The same went for deaths and backstories. When a side character that they hadn't developed or really shown at all died, and everybody was really sad, there wasn't really any connection that any of the viewers had towards that character. I will say though, in Dota Dragon's Blood, the Invoker was by far the best character because I was able to actually understand him. They took a whole episode to basically say why he was the way he was. However, that didn't help the fact that I was still confused at what he was doing and I had no idea what was going on. I was able to connect with him and I actually started like feeling for him, even though I think he was a bad guy. There were so many parts of these shows where something crazy would happen out of the blue and then everybody would just move on with it, leaving me be like, what the frick? You're not gonna explain what just happened? You deal with this with no hope of them ever addressing it again, or you get a simple one-liner of them either shrugging it off or like a simple explanation about the significance of it. Like I remember there's this one part in Blood of Zeus where everybody had to like go through this fog and they couldn't look back or else they would die, and it was supposed to be this like really like hard on your heart like backstory stuff, like oh my goodness, they're looking at all their like relatives that are sad. After they get through the fog, they're basically just like, oh man, well that was hard. I will say though that I was thankful for Dota Dragon Blood that the ending, they didn't resolve the conflicts. Finally, something that Netflix is really good at doing is making shows overly sexual or overly gory. I mean, Netflix in general has just become really lazy with their storytelling by creating a world and creating characters that could potentially connect, but then just getting down to it and being like,
hey, I have an idea of what will get these people to watch the show.
Oh yes, what is it, Jerry?
Sex.
By Jove, get this man a raise.
Some, like, intimate behavior will make sense for some shows. Just Netflix going over the top unnecessarily. I feel like these shows weren't anime for the reasons that I enjoy anime. There was no real message or development or story being told. They just focused on being crazy, action-filled miniseries that you could just mindlessly binge. There is no real purpose to care or pay attention, which it makes sense. Netflix doesn't care about its viewers. What it wants is just people sitting there. And it's sad because Netflix is a good commentary on what people are enjoying these days. And it's just lazy people watching lazy written shows that are just not as engaging anymore. The shows that tend to do really good are the shows that are not lazy writing. I mean, take Stranger Things, for example. A story with a clear solution to be solved, storytelling with fun and connectable characters, and then, to top it all off, end it with a hook saying that maybe everything wasn't solved. I feel bad for the creators of these shows because these people have spent so much time trying to create a whole world in a show that people would get involved in, then they ruin it because they're forced to put it into one season. I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting, and Netflix is making bank on all of their shows, so it doesn't really matter what I say about it. But anyways, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Derek. Nobody freaking cares. I'm your host, and you have a good rest of your day. Okay, bye.